Hi everyone following us on TDF today. We've got the immense pleasure of hosting Tato Pagliuso, also known as Tato, or just Diego himself. He is the owner of Finta Futsal. He's played futsal in England since 2008, when it once started. He's currently a Baku United player, massively passionate about youth futsal and futsal itself. And he's got a great initiative with Finta, attracting a lot of academy football players to actually play in his futsal team. And today we'll be discussing, his thoughts on how the National League has actually, developed along the years that he's played, how he sees, the National League developing in the future, his experiences with youth players, abroad as well in Spain and in other competitions he's been to, their behaviours, how to attract some players from other clubs to play futsal, and his thoughts on youth futsal and how it's going to affect the England setup in the near future. Tato, it's a pleasure to have you, mate. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be talking to you guys. I've mentioned it before, the impact you guys are making on futsal, connecting the people involved in the league, and also informing new stakeholders for futsal.
Thanks, Tat. Thanks. And I mean, obviously, as I've mentioned, you've played in England since 2008. And so what has changed since then, and what do you think will change with the new format from next season?
Okay, if we want to talk about the future, we need to see where we came from, how the league started and what went through in all those years. I've played the first ever FA National League, which was in 2008. And in the beginning, the clubs were very community-based. So you had Brazilian clubs, you had Lithuanian clubs, Portuguese clubs, English clubs, and you'd be a get-together on a Sunday. For the first 5 years, Helvetia dominated it. They won every league and almost every FA Cup there was. And then it came the period I call the Baku period, where they heavily invested. They brought top players from Spain and Brazil, top coach as well, chairman. And I think that's when English futsal took a turn. For the other clubs, it became a bit boring because you can't compete against professional players if you are not a professional. The results were 10, 12, 15-0. And but as a development moment for the league, I think it was very important because today we see players who came through that process with Baku, and then Oxford. We've got Diogo, we've got Liam, and Doug, other players who had the opportunity to train and play daily with those top-class players and coaches. And I think they left a legacy. And then we move on to the era pro after Baku, when the money had gone and what last season looked like. And I think it was probably one of the most competitive seasons throughout. We had 3 or 4 teams very even in level.
Mm-hmm.
I think what Baku did last season is something that people should start looking to do. When a club has money, the first thing they look at is, can I get the best players in England? And they all go after the same players. And please, it's not personal with anyone. Most of these guys are my friends. But what Baku did last season was the first investment was on a top class coach. They brought Alberto Riquer, a world champion with Spain, who had a lot of knowledge and a lot of professionalism towards futsal. I think last season, even though when the money finished again and he left, he left a legacy for futsal. And until this day, I see youth academies playing similar ways to what Baku did. And I see our first team still using a lot of stuff that we've seen last season with Alberto. And he raised the level of the team, and he raised the level of futsal in general. In future, I think next season is going to be hard. It's going to be the first ever time that we're going to have a national league, and I think it's going to take some getting used to. I don't think it's going to be an easy process, but on the long term, maybe in 2 or 3 seasons ahead, we're going to start seeing a lot of improvements.
And do you think it's improvements on or off the court specifically, Diego?
Both. That's my next point, because I think the clubs who are going to be able to compete on a national league, they're going to have a foundation behind the scenes. So they'll have to have a structure with youth and a lot more people involved, rather than being a community club or a one-person's club. So I see a lot of people doing good work, and I think in the next few years we're going to see massive improvements on and off the court.
Good. I'm hopeful it will as well. I mean, tell us about Finta Futsal, Diego, and why you decided to create a youth futsal team.
I grew up in a football family, and my uncle owns a soccer school in Brazil of Santos Football Club. I had it clear in my mind that if I wasn't a football player or a futsal player, I would become a coach. That was always my idea. I love being in that environment. I love being around football or futsal in the sport itself. I was playing for London United a few years ago, and that's where I met my ex-partner, Alfie Brooks. We had similar views and ideas, and I was already coaching Helvetia Academy. They had a partnership with Tower Hamlets Council, and I was already doing coaching for them. Alfie was also a qualified coach, and we decided to open a futsal academy together. There was only a couple of futsal academies I could really relate to at the time, which was CM Futsal and Scholar, that I remember. And we thought there was a market for more. We then opened Ole Futsal, where we stayed together for almost a year. And we had different views. We decided to go different directions. And I was already running a centre for Ole, which was then changed to Finta, and it became Finta. The good thing is now both academies are successful, both developing players for the future. Finta is based in East London, and their sets. We work with children from 4 to 14 years of age. We have grassroots players, we have academy players, we have kids having their first ever kicks on a ball. Even before they go to football, some of them are coming to us first. And what I try to provide them is a real feel of what futsal is like. Right. So the real techniques, the rules. I try to encourage them to watch futsal on their own time. Our international tours, we watch professional futsal games in Spain, compete against some top academies, like we played against Barcelona last week. And I want our kids to have that feel, what futsal really is. And I want the parents to have that feel. Because I think the only way to develop this sport is if people fall in love with it. I think I'm achieving that at the moment.
Good. And I mean, you've obviously mentioned that you've got grassroots players, you've also got academy players in Finta. I mean, do you use futsal as a development tool for football, Diego, or is it futsal for futsal really, to produce futsal players? I mean, what's the ambition, or is it both?
I think if you compare to other countries, they each have their own way of seeing it. In Brazil, for what I've seen, football clubs have futsal academies until a certain age, and then players decide where they go to, or the coaches decide what the player is suitable more to play. We recently went to Spain, and the coaches were shocked that most of our players play both football and futsal, because some of the clubs we play, they only play
futsal.
True futsal players, and they want to be futsal players. I saw an article yesterday of Miguelin talking about there's a lot of kids out there who wants to be Miguelin, they want to be Ricardinho. And then we also went to Italy, where it's a mix of both ideas. Some kids only do futsal, some do both. This is what I believe. I believe if I can teach my boys and girls to play futsal the right way, they will naturally develop to be good football players. I think there's a lot of technical and tactical aspects of the game that can enhance their football abilities anyway. I try to develop futsal players, but I strongly believe that we're developing football players at the same time, if it makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, mentioning the point on the academy players that play for Finta, I mean, what do you think are the benefits of futsal for these football academy players, and what do coaches from these football teams actually think of futsal and of Finta?
The benefits it's advertised everywhere. Tight spaces, low bounce ball. You need a lot more sharpness on a technique. Your pass cannot be a meter in front of you. It needs to be exactly where you want it to be. So I think you're enhancing the technique, and because of the tight space, the decision making, everything is faster, everything is more intense. When they get to the normal pitch, those decisions they have to make, it seems easier because they've got more time on the ball, and so on. Academy players and the academy system, I think people are scared of what they don't know, and I think futsal in general, not only in England, feels some resistance from some of the football people and coaches.
Right.
I think until they actually see the benefits of it, people will doubt, and that's normal. Now we've had some players that play in academies with us for over like a year and a half, almost 2 years, and these players have seen massively increase in their potential.
Right.
I think the academies are now starting to notice that is actually helpful. At the beginning, we had a little bit of resistance from clubs. Oh, I don't want you to do futsal. You already do enough football and stuff. But I think now they're being more lenient, I think is the word, towards us. They accept that the kids do both, and it's helpful towards their development. That's just as much as I know. I have never spoken to one of our academy coaches to discuss that, but to have the opportunity to and see how we can help each other.
Okay. And I mean, obviously, you've mentioned that in Brazil, football clubs have futsal academies, and then the players either go both ways, or the coaches decide what's more suitable for the players. Do you feel in England football clubs should also have futsal academies, or do you think futsal, although you've mentioned that you coach futsal so that they become better futsal and football players? I mean, do you believe football clubs here should have futsal academies?
Yes, I do. I think there's already a couple of things in place. There's a Premier League futsal tournament that the boys take part in, and there is the idea behind that they want to introduce futsal to the development system. But same thing as I mentioned about Baku in the beginning of the podcast, I think you need the right coaches.
Yeah, absolutely.
So futsal is a different sport to football. There's its own techniques, its own traits, and I strongly believe that those techniques can help football players. But there's a big difference between coaching futsal or indoor football, giving them a futsal ball and saying play. Futsal, as you know, is a very tactical game. There's a lot of things that you can break down to children, as there's only 4-5 a side. There's a lot of things you can break down to children in terms of defensive understanding and attacking shapes and rotations and tap, pass and everything that can be used in football. You need the right coaching system put in place alongside the football. You can't be two separate entities, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. I mean, we just going on to a similar topic, but just linking back to an article you wrote, Diego. I mean, obviously, 95% of players currently in academies, football academies, don't go off to become football players. And hence, attracting these very talented football players to play futsal possibly gives them a pathway to play futsal in the future. And, in essence, will increase the level of the talent pool for future English national teams. I mean, I know you are one of the clubs. I know Ole are another club as well that managed to recruit, players from football academies. I mean, are we allowed to know how you managed to get in touch with football clubs and how you managed to recruit them, or is that like a trade secret that you may not wish to share with the wider futsal community? I mean, tell us a bit more about that.
No, I never went out to recruit academy players. It just happened that they play for academies, and some of them did not play for academies before, and after being with us now they are recruited by academies. Our main age group, I would call it, is the under-12s, which had more experience abroad and stuff. We've just played Barcelona last week, and we had 5 academy players and 5 non-academy players.
Right.
So it's not a rule that we look for academy boys. What happened was when we started, we had one or two boys who came out for trial, and they absolutely loved it, and they played in one of the top academies in London. once they liked it, it was just natural they would tell their mates, and their mates are the kids who play football with them in the football academy as well. So it became a snowball effect. I've never actually went out to recruit academy players.
Okay.
My recruitment is made, as most of the clubs, social media, and I think the most important one is word of mouth. If you're doing good work and the parents and the kids can see improvement and they enjoy themselves, then they'll bring other kids. I just want to make a point clear that all kids are welcome in Finta, and I think all futsal academies that I know. Of course, if you have academy players, the chance of the level being high is high. Mm-hmm. We never go out looking for them. I think they naturally come, and the same as grassroots players come. Mm-hmm. Part of the kids in our academy are grassroots. Got
it. Perfect. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, Premier Youth Futsal League was the first season, this season. I mean, how did you think it went, the first season?
I think when we decided to do that league, we had talks between the clubs that it was a trial edition. We were flexible in a lot of the areas to make it work for the first season. We were not sure on what age group should have been done, or lots of little details that we made it work. I think I saw a lot of improvement in general in all clubs. I think as the league is going towards the end now, we saw a lot of talent coming through. We saw a lot of teams developing in different areas. Mm-hmm. I think moving forward it will be better, because now we can reflect and evaluate what went well, what we could improve, and we've already been speaking about adding more clubs, and I think next season is going to be better, and the season after that is going to be even better.
Other than adding more clubs, Diego, is there anything else you think that the Premier Youth Futsal League can improve on as well?
I think we need to set a calendar early and make sure we stick to it. Mm-hmm. We had discussed about the age groups. Should we try and copy Europe and do calendar years, or should we keep with the English system? This is all things that are still being discussed, and I think there's a lot of points to consider. But yeah, there's a lot of things we can always talk and ask each club individually what worked for them, what could have been better. Mm-hmm. From my point, I think one thing was hard, which was we decided to have our games on a Sunday afternoon to avoid clashing with football. Mm-hmm. But what I noticed was when the boys come after a football match, they're tired, so we don't get the best out of them. So this is something I want to suggest to the other clubs. We're going to talk about that and maybe find a solution.
Yeah, possibly play on a Sunday or a weekday.
Sorry?
Possibly play on a Sunday or a weekday. Oh, sorry, a Saturday or a weekday.
Yeah, that's something we can discuss with the clubs and see what's the best for development, what's the best for the kids, most importantly, and what's going to make the league better and more attractive.
Okay, I mean, obviously the Premier Youth Futsal League is was welcomed by most of the stakeholders, because historically English futsal players have begun playing in their late teens or even early 20s. So what type of impact will kids playing futsal from a younger age have on English futsal in the future, in your opinion?
Massive. I think it takes years for a player to truly understand the game of futsal. Mm-hmm. I think the techniques, the tactics, the principles, the tempo, and everything. Having that foundation from an early stage, where the principles of play are introduced to the young players, that will ensure that players who are promoted to the first team are ready for any tactical information they may receive from the new coach. Or I think what happens now, you get a player who is 22, having his first ever contact with futsal. Mm-hmm. So you got to teach that player all the techniques, the movements of the ball, the principles of defending and attacking and everything, at the same time as showing them the tactical side of the game to compete. So I think we're jumping steps in there. Mm-hmm. Had that player being taught early and was he accomplished technically, and he had the basic movements of running in a parallel, diagonal, or whatever it is, when it comes to a senior team, he will be ready to actually take the information he needs to compete, if it makes sense.
Absolutely.
At the moment...
Yeah, go on, sorry.
Sorry, at the moment, it's not bigger clubs, but I see people progressing youth players to first team just for advertising, just for youth players in the first team. They're jumping steps of development.
I think the reason behind that as well is because there's the whole, a number of English players in the team, and there must be 4 English players in the team. So I guess some clubs sort of are forced to do that, aren't they?
Yeah, and I understand that it's raising the awareness and there's more English players playing. But if you're talking about a child or a teenager who is developing physically and mentally, you're burning steps of development. And we've got to make sure those kids, when they reach a senior level and they're going to play against adults, they're ready for it. And they're ready for it technically, tactically, and mentally. But I also think that in about 5 to 7 years, our league's going to start getting very strong with our own homegrown players. And that's well done work from most of the academies in London and in England. I can speak about the ones I know: Escola, Pro, Ole, Finta, CM, Baku. Sorry if I forget anyone, but I think in 5 to 7 years we're going to start seeing true futsal players coming through the academy.
Decent. I mean, obviously you are one of the clubs that tour quite a lot Europe with your youth clubs, and of course this gives these children another idea of what futsal really is, because we live in a bit of a bubble in England. There's only so much futsal, and there's only such a standard, really, if you know what I mean, even at adults level, that when you go abroad, your eyes are open to something completely new. I mean, what are the differences between youth futsal in England and the other countries you have visited, like Spain, Italy, and also Brazil, because you've obviously lived there? I mean, what are the key differences?
If I talk about each country individually, it's going to make more sense. If we start with Italy has the nicest environment I've ever seen. We went to Asti, which was the Italian champions in the previous years. They folded the senior team and invested everything in the youth. Everything in Asti is about fair play. So they're very big on fair play. They don't select kids up to the age of 13. They let everybody have the same opportunity in play. Once they're 13 to under 14s, then they start selecting who can stay and who should go and do something else. We had workshops with the UEFA coaches and stuff about fair play, and they believe in participation, and they believe that children change. So that kid who is the best player under 10 now, he might not be under 14. So they believe in giving equal opportunities to everyone. Having said that, the level of the game, it wasn't very high in terms of competing and playing, and everything was a lot in a friendly matter. We played a tournament there, but even that, they were not allowed to give out trophies and stuff. They were only allowed to give out, they gave us a plate of friendship and stuff, which I get it, and I thought it was beautiful. It's lovely. Spain. In Spain, they take competition very seriously. Kids from 7, 8, 9 years of age, they're very organized. They can defend, they can attack, they even have set pieces, and they technically accomplish, and it was great. I think the main difference between them and us that I could notice was the players there, they are futsal players. They follow futsal, they watch futsal. I saw 80-year-old children or 90-year-old children making tactical fouls, stopping in front of the ball when we're going to take a free kick, or when you're going to take a side kick, and this kind of things. And it shows that they follow the sport. For us in England, because we haven't got a strong national league yet, it's hard to ask the children, you know what, let's go on a Sunday, watch the first team, and see high-level futsal. At the moment, that's going to change. But that was the biggest difference I saw between us and the Spanish teams. They knew how to play the game better. They knew how to compete better. Having said that, there's nothing wrong with our kids. We have a lot of talent in this country, and we have some players here who could be the best players in any of the Spanish teams. So
well, absolutely. I mean, Ole beat Barcelona in the final. I think that's a testament to the talent that we do have.
Yes. I watched that game on video, and I couldn't separate the Ole players from the Barcelona players. the same as us last week. We played Barca. We lost 5-3, but it was an even game throughout.
Got two goals only against Barca. That's amazing.
It was 4-3 into the last minute, and then we had a long penalty we missed in the counter-attack. They had a long penalty and they scored. But the game itself, it was even. And we had players in our team who could easily be playing for Barcelona. So my point is, we have the talent here, and we have good people doing good work now. And we will start seeing the benefits in a few years. I have no doubt of that. But it would help to be able to expose the children to real futsal at home. Right. For example, the kids in Spain, every Sunday, if they won, or Saturday, whenever they play the league, they can go and watch top players to play, and they can copy those guys, and they can aspire to be like them. We're still a little bit behind on that, but I think that's going to catch up.
I mean, obviously, on your last point, Diego, I mean, the way people consume sport today is very different to what it was 10, 15 years ago. We don't just consume sport over the TV. We do so via social media now. That's how we communicate with people frequently, via social media. I mean, do you think, at least, not necessarily the English Futsal League or the Super League, should we call it, but do you think if children were exposed to, the highest level of adult futsal competition in Spain, in Brazil, in Italy, in Russia, that these children that play futsal would watch it? I mean, what's your opinion? I know it's quite hard to mention, but do you think they would watch it?
That's the point I came across in Spain. The kids who travelled out there and they saw the level of the youth teams and the organisation and how passionate the Spanish are about futsal. We played games with over 500 people in there watching 12-year-old kids.
Wow.
Those kids, those parents, I always send my players links to watch games and stuff. Those guys, now they're going to watch it. I think the ones that haven't had the experience before, who didn't go abroad or who didn't play futsal at that level, they might overlook it and say, nah, I'm not going to watch that. That's what I'm trying to achieve every year. When I go abroad, I'm not only trying to compete or to measure ourselves against other clubs. I'm trying to provide these kids and parents an opportunity to experience the feel of the futsal clubs in there. I heard... I was watching the podcast with Robert, so my coach, and where he said about Cyprus and the supporters and stuff. And I actually disagree with him in a point. I think we can create that culture. We can, but it needs to be from the foundation. It needs to be from the early ages. So I took about 20 players to Spain, and I'm 100% sure that those 20 players now are true futsal fans. They follow it. They watch it. They're asking me questions. I've made a few interviews with my boys to put on social media, and I said, so who do you want to play like? And he's telling me he wants to be like Eder Lima.
Oh, wow.
The UEFA, the Euro and stuff. So the more kids we can expose to that kind of game, the better. So by having a stronger league here, and these kids being able to experience that week in and week out, and saying, you know what, I want to be like Pedro. I want to play like this guy. I think that is going to help us develop the sport as a whole.
Okay, I mean, obviously you said question of, if they gain the experience abroad, even if it's just a week for a tournament, they become futsal fans. Do you think that can be recreated through TV or through watching matches, in the most professional manner possible online? I mean, do you think that experience can be replicated? Because obviously sport is not sport nowadays only when it comes to broadcasting. It's all about the experience. When you watch the Premier League, I'm an avid Tottenham fan. When I watch Tottenham, it's the way they broadcast football, and they capture the fans and chanting and stuff. That captivates the audience a lot more. It captivates me as a fan a lot more. I mean, do you think streamed matches, at least in a professional manner, or perhaps Eurosport showing Spanish futsal, could that perhaps captivate a new audience? Or do you think really that you can't replicate that experience of going abroad and really seeing futsal firsthand?
I think you can catch an audience. You can get more people interested in and watching weekly games if it's delivered in a professional manner. But I also think that having that experience to watch in real life, and I hope that it's going to be in England one day, it increases more. I think watching on TV is not the same feel as watching on a stadium. I think every parent who likes football, they can't wait for the first ever time they can bring the kid to watch a football game in a stadium.
Okay.
And you can't replicate that feel. But I do think if it was a professional broadcast, it would increase awareness. Yes, it would.
Okay, so for all those clubs that can't really travel abroad at the moment, really, what we're perhaps missing in the UK is an international tournament then for youth. We're perhaps missing an international adult tournament as well. That's just like a month, or not a month, that's a bit too long, but a week or so, where people can actually be exposed to higher level without having to actually travel abroad, because it's a big ask.
Yeah, that's actually a very good idea. We've, not only ourselves, we spoke to other clubs in England, in London, that wants to bring both youth tournaments to London, or also adult teams, and there's a lot of people looking into it, and I think it's going to happen very soon.
Good.
But I think an easier way to achieve what I'm saying is having stronger teams in our league.
Oh, of course.
So teams people can relate to. So I'm going to give the example of Manchester. Since I can remember, Manchester is a great club. You go on the website, they've got everything in place. They always bring kids to games. They sell season tickets and all that. And that makes the children in that area, in that city, feel part of that project, if it makes sense.
But what I think about Manchester, what I think Manchester does that other clubs can't replicate at the moment is, I'm pretty sure children are proud of playing for Manchester Futsal Club because of their links with Manchester City Football Club and etc. And it's really, can you establish an academy and make people feel proud of representing a certain club? It's quite difficult to do so with futsal.
I think you can, Pedro, because going back to Spain again, we just came back from Mossos. They have a local team. They play in the first team plays in the third division. In every game they play, so if it's under sevens, everyone else is watching them. If it's 12s, people come from different age groups to watch them. They have that family feel, and they support each other throughout. And those kids are proud to play for that club. Honestly, they are proud to play for that club. I have been introducing that pride into Finta. And if you ask any of the Finta boys who travel, who is your favorite futsal team, they're going to say Finta. And there is clubs creating that pride. So if one day Finta has a senior team, or Ole, or now Escola has, I'm sure that those kids who come through, they're going to be proud to play for them, regardless of having a link with a football club or not. In what Manchester has more than the partnership with City, which I didn't know, to be fair, is they carry the name of the city.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And people are proud to play for the area. So the FA is in the right path of having a national league, one national league, in my opinion. And they're also in the right path to ask clubs to carry the name of where they represent. So London, Baku, or Reading, Escola, and stuff. Because I've been researching a lot of basketball and see how they do it, especially Americans and stuff. And it's about that. So you've got clubs like Chicago Bulls or Los Angeles Lakers, and they carry the name of the town, and they create that environment where people want to be part of that.
Yeah, because it's a sense of belonging and identity, really, isn't it? I mean, if you are from Chicago and, there is a franchise called Chicago Bulls, I mean, you're most likely going to identify yourself with that particular club. It's quite hard to capture with London teams because there's so many, but your point was made, clearly, to be fair.
Exactly. It's a sense of belonging to a community and liking the club.
Yeah, I mean, decent. I mean, finally, of course, you're massively involved in adult futsal and youth futsal now. I mean, do you think it should be a requirement to be in the to have an academy, an established academy, in order to be in the Super League in the future?
Yes, no doubt. It has to be, because if we want to progress as a league, if we want to develop a strong league in the future, we need to start taking better care of our kids, our academies. I think people might not like to hear this one, but we need real futsal academies. Not only to tick boxes, because a lot of things that happens in here is to tick boxes. Oh, we have a development team, we have an academy, but actually to develop players, to develop children who love the sport and who are good enough to play in the national league and eventually for the national team. In my opinion, we should put a lot more time in development over the next 5 years than actually the national league itself, because those kids are the future of what this sport we love. We need to take care of them. We need to make sure that they like it and they want to continue with it.
Yeah, completely agree. And any final thoughts? Anything you want to share with the whole community, Diego?
No, I just would like to say well done to what I've mentioned here before, and I've mentioned on my social media before. There's a lot of people behind the scenes. Sometimes not so much behind the scenes, but a lot of people who's making futsal tick in the UK. So clubs like CM Futsal being developed players for the past 3 years, Escola, now Pro Futsal, Ole. There's a lot of people who are actually putting a lot of time and effort to get as many kids involved as possible. And these guys love what they do, and we need more people like that. Also to yourselves, I think what you've been doing in the past few months, raising the awareness of futsal and giving a lot of information on different topics is great, and I think you guys should continue with that, and you have my total support.
Thanks, Diego. Right, I mean, that was it. I mean, thank you very much, Diego, for taking part. I mean, follow Finta Futsal on Facebook, as always. They're on Twitter as well. And we'll be releasing an article on their time in the Mostol's Cup as well, which they took part over in last weekend. And one of their teams finished in the semi-finals. And thank you very much, Diego, for sharing all your expertise with us. And good luck to you and Baku in the Super League. And keep up the good work at Finta.
Thank you very much for having me, and I wish you guys success.
Cheers. Thank you very much.